Welcome to the Hyperfast Agent Podcast Show with your host, Dan Lesniak. My guest today is Blake Haggett. He is a commercial real estate agent, has been in that space for 3 years. He's doing some extremely interesting stuff in that space to bring in personal branding and energy and innovation that, we haven't seen in this industry needs. So it's exciting to see him do that. He's also starting a residential real estate team. He's out of Boise, Idaho. So welcome to the show, Blake.
Dan, thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate setting this up.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I know we met back at Gary V's Agent 2021 event, which for those of you who don't know was for people in real estate, mortgage, insurance, and auto, right? So interesting group that Gary put together. And most of the real estate, people that were there for real estate were in residential. So seeing someone there in commercial was interesting. So let's start there. Actually, we can get into your story a little bit later, but talk about why this personal branding and why in commercial real estate.
So that's a really good question you asked, Dan. The main reason why I attended Agent 2021 from a commercial real estate perspective, I think in, the agency field of today is how can you build a bigger personal brand than your competitor? You need to set yourself apart. You need to be able to touch and gain attention amongst, everybody. There's 7 billion people on earth, and how many people can you connect with? So it's actually a pretty fun story behind Agent 2021. I attended year one, really enjoyed it, implemented a lot of the techniques that I learned, simple things like produce as much content as possible. And so I did that for my first year and noticed such a growth in not only my business production growing dramatically, but just the attention side of it where, I'm all about not monetizing in the now, but looking at the long term of things. And I know that Gary V speaks highly of the long term play with all of this. So actually, there was a few commercial agents that attended the event when we were there this past January, and it's been kind of fun to create kind of a culture and a community amongst some of these commercial brokers in the digital space, because as we both know, commercial real estate is it's a little bit older of a demographic. I think the average age of the commercial agent or broker is, somewhere upwards of, 55 years old. So it's kind of really cool to start to see a mix of a younger generation, because I don't think commercial real estate is all that hard. It just takes a little bit more education than the residential deal. A lot of the contracts aren't written for you. You're dealing with a lot of bigger price point volume stuff. So you got to really know your stuff when you're working with these clients and consumers and customers. So it's cool to see a younger generation taking the play into the digital space. So, that was kind of a rant tangent on commercial real estate, but Agent 2021 is one of the best events that I've personally been to for that residential or even a commercial agent, just because I think that there's a lot of value with not only what Gary and the speakers that attend these conferences teach us, but just the networking of it. Like you and me meeting, I think that we bumped into each other in one of the intermissions, and I said, "Hey, what do you do? What is Hyperfast?" You had one of your shirts on, and I thought that it was really cool to follow this up with not only a podcast but a potential referral network for us. And Gary spoke on that at the conference is, the group and the team or the company that is able to transition their current business model to more of a wider audience. You can sell real estate across the country. You don't need to be stuck, even though you're licensed in one state. They have something that what's called a referral fee, and those can get real nice, So.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. And depending on how you're structured, they can actually be more profitable than your local business. So it's eye-opening to see what the effects of personal branding can do in that space specifically. Before we dive, more into that, Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your story? I know you're out in Boise. How did you get into commercial real estate in the first place? And just give the listeners a little bit of a background there.
Yeah, so my name's Blake Haggett, based out of Boise, Idaho. I also am trying to grow into other markets like Las Vegas and California over here on the West Coast. I started in real estate for two reasons. One was my grandfather was a commercial real estate developer locally, had got into storage 20, 30 years ago. Storage is kind of a hot thing. It's easy, not easy, but affordable to get in, and there's some good returns if you do it right. So I witnessed my grandfather do that from a young age. Both my mom and dad, even though they're separated now, both compete in the industry of commercial real estate. My dad's a broker. My mom runs a property management company. And, the second reason why I got into real estate is a saying that my grandfather has always taught me from a young age. With working hard in real estate, when you get to a certain point, you can do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. And that was kind of his motto through his life. And he achieved that very early on in his career due to the fact of residual income and all of those things through real estate and the enjoyment of working with other people. So that's kind of how I got my start into real estate. I chose commercial real estate mainly when I watched our family's business pay a broker about $500,000 on 3 acquisitions. And I was in college going, oh my gosh, $500,000, that would change my life forever, And so when I witnessed that, I said, yeah, okay, I'm going to get my license, went to real estate school and was, high on my high horse thinking I'm going to be a luxury listing real estate agent, do residential. Sold about 2 or 3 homes and said, you know what, I really want to take it to the next level and really get involved in this commercial world. And then right there, a couple months in, I said, I need to get some extra education in the commercial space. I decided to hang my license with a boutique firm here in Boise rather than go with one of these larger players due to the fact of realizing commission splits. So if I outworked most of those people, if I'm on a flat fee brokerage model rather than a 50-50 split with what most commercial brokerages are at, it could be much more profitable for me if I worked harder. So started my CCIM designation, and that's usually a 2 to 5 year process. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that, Dan, but it's kind of the way I explain it is it's a master's degree in commercial real estate. And it's just kind of an additional education on top of your real estate license because you don't learn much. So started that. I'm actually testing for that designation at the end of this month. So I'm super excited about getting that qualification to help me not only better service my clients, but, give me some leverage in the industry of, people that have been doing it for 10, 20 years. So it's kind of my start. I reside in Boise, Idaho. Love it here. If you haven't visited, I highly recommend it. You get all 4 seasons. We've got awesome lake about 10 minutes away and a ski hill about 25, 30 minutes away. So you can ski and golf and go wakeboarding all in one day, usually in March or April, because you're getting the best of both worlds. So that's my story.
Yeah, it's a great part of the country. I was there a few years ago. Tony Robbins, held his Platinum Partner Financial Summit in Sun Valley.
Yes.
And I wasn't supposed to be in Boise, but the flight got canceled. One of the flights got canceled. We had to drive there actually. So got to see for a minute or two, but not
nice. You stay for a day or what?
No, we just Sun Valley, but that it wasn't too far from Boise. I think maybe 2 hours or so. And just, the entire area is beautiful, beautiful area. And I did Ironman Coeur d'Alene not too many years ago as well. So I've seen a lot of areas.
You've been around Idaho. Nice.
Yeah. So it's a cool part of the country. But yeah, so tell us, all right, you're getting the CCIM, so you're getting more credentials that are recognized in the commercial real estate world. You're learning from Gary Vee on personal branding. And, you mentioned that you went to the first Agent 2021 conference, which would have been a year ago or a little over a year ago. What did you learn at that one? What did you implement? And how has it helped you? What has it done to your business in that year?
Yeah, so it's done a lot. I'm gonna jump back a little bit because you mentioned someone that I highly recognize and pay a lot of my success to in ways is Tony Robbins. Not to
Sure.
pivot too much, but after college, I had the opportunity to the family gave me the ultimatum of, "Ooh, do you want to get yourself a brand new car for graduating college, or do you want to use the money for something else?" And I decided to go to Tony Robbins Business Mastery, and that was something that really kind of changed my whole outlook on top of, learning from my family growing up. I was very fortunate, and like Gary Vee likes to say it, is I kind of lost. I had a lot of support from my family growing up. But when I was able to go to the Tony Robbins seminar in Las Vegas right after college, it just really, really shifted my outlook on what I wanted from my life, and how I can support and provide for my family, and also fulfillment for myself. If I just lived off my family, which I totally could have done, I don't think I would have been fulfilled in life. So to pivot that back, I learned a lot. I've been really paying attention to the Gary V's, Grant Cardone's of the world. Just, everybody can learn something from one of these guys, whether you like them as an individual or not. I mean, they are where they are because of what they've done,
Right.
and what they've accomplished. So Agent 2021 year one was, I read Crush It, Gary Vee's kind of first book about personal branding, a couple months before that event. And so I started to implement some little things before the event. So I hired a video guy, I shot a vlog and shot some videos for myself to brand myself. And when I went to that event, it just really opened my eyes, and is to like the full picture of what I started to do, but it just gave me confirmation how much more I needed to pump out and to do. So between year one and year two, I produced, I want to say, about 10 to 20 vlogs. I really started to ramp up my Instagram game. I noticed that that was a way that I could connect with individuals in my age demographic, that potentially might know a friend's parents that could be an investor, or some of the things that I look at is there's not an immediate ROI to a lot of personal branding, and you have to be patient with it. But when you start to see it all coming back to you from a word of mouth or an attention when you're working out in the gym, and say, "Oh, that thing you said about this really impacted me," or "it helped motivate me to get out of bed," or "it helped motivate me to try something new," or "post my first video," it really fulfills me, And so a lot of that, in a lot of the personal branding, is in ways I look at it, is helping others get out of their comfort, because for the longest time it was really hard for me to post videos about myself. I was insecure about it, and you probably know it too. It's uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
when you kind
When you're
of
starting
break
out, it
that,
can be.
yeah, but once you break those little like thresholds, it's crazy how much easier it gets in ways. And like anything, the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. But I've seen a lot of value from a lot of things that I've noticed and absorbed from what Gary Vee has produced in content, and it's free content. So
Yeah. And I think, you hit on a good point there of how it may be uncomfortable at first. And I think, anything new is going to be uncomfortable, but that's the path to growth, because you have to do something that you haven't done before to grow and do more. And, video and posting on social media is just one more chance to exercise that overall muscle. So I think it
yeah,
actually helps you in other areas, in sales or business or whatever you're doing, right? Because now you've just one more area where you started something new, maybe had a little bit of fear about it, and just learn to disregard it, push that fear aside, or not care what people may think, and it spills over into other areas of life, is what I've found.
oh totally, I support that 100% and agree with you 100%, because as you're growing as an individual, comfort will kill you, and you have to stretch outside of yourself, because you never know what's on the other side of that door sitting right next to you, where, is it the comfort of talking to that random stranger, or posting that video that you experienced a deal blow up and you just want to share your story. There's so much that you learn when you're able to not only document what you're doing, but just explain yourself, and share it with the world.
Yeah. Well, what did you learn at the last Agent 2021, the second one? Like, what was different, from year 1 to year 2? What did you specifically learn at that one that you're going to try and implement, or maybe you already started?
So that's a really good question. I was blown away with year 1 with how deep they went. I had a general understanding of these social media platforms, how to use them, what to do. And they had some great breakout sessions where they went really deep. They said, this is what's coming next on Instagram. This is what's coming next on Snapchat. This is how we monetize off, or not monetize, but this is how we use these platforms. And doing this over that gets you better reach, and doing a lot of tips and tricks that I really found valuable this year. I was a little upset with how generic they went. How to do a Snapchat or an Instagram story. Okay, if you're at this conference and you don't know how to do that, I was a little bummed because I was really
Right.
going back for a lot of these, like, oh, use LinkedIn and do text over 180 words because it gets 10 times the reach as a video with this. And it wasn't as tactical. It was more generic. But I feel like year 2 was just as valuable as year 1 in a different way. And that different way was the networking aspect of it and the ability to bring my videographer to capture the event, So it wasn't as much learning big tools. It was more of the network and the presence of people seeing that I went to an event like that. And then, one of the big key takeaways for me was just I need to do more LinkedIn content, just because it's my audience in commercial real estate. A lot of them are on LinkedIn, CEOs, business owners. Those are the kind of guys that are my clients, not a first-time home buyer that's 25, 30 years old,
Right. Well,
So,
I've noticed, because I've been a little bit more active on LinkedIn lately. I've noticed stuff lives longer on there. So I get
yes.
notifications that so-and-so just liked and commented on this post, and it was a post from a week or 2 ago. And I hardly ever get those kind of notifications on Instagram or Facebook. Like they have to see it that day. Like LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and it, I don't know if there's data on this, but it just feels like stuff lasts longer on there.
That's a really good point you bring up. And, I can even attest to that completely. I had a post about commercial real estate probably a month ago. And for the first week and a half, not to use views as like the biggest thing, because all it takes is one view, had about 1,000 views. And then week 2 to 3, it went from like 1,000 to 7,000. And so you bring up a really good point for that. And especially the listeners listening to this today, your stuff lives longer, and I
Right.
feel Snapchat, it dies when someone opens it, or if you post a story or whatnot. But I think that will change as more people get used to the LinkedIn platform and more people abuse the marketing purposes of it. That's really cool that you mentioned that, because that was something that I did notice. Have you been super high? Like, do you post a lot of LinkedIn content?
I probably do 2 a day on average, maybe,
Okay.
and then a few articles each week.
Are you doing a lot of like video with script or text or
I'm about a mix of a third pictures, a third video, and then third
what
word.
results have you seen from that so far?
It's helped a lot with recruiting. I think it's
Oh yeah.
so I think that's the biggest area. I don't, I got some advice a few months ago, and again, I don't have data on this, but I was told, and it'd be interesting to see if this is actually true, that if you post external links on there, like YouTube or to your landing page or anything like that, that LinkedIn actually throttles it down. So I've been changing all the messaging on LinkedIn to, message me, contact me, or go find my podcast on iTunes, and not putting the links on there just to just
That's
to
really smart.
and I don't,
I
and
will
I don't know if that's
support
true
that.
or not, but
Yeah, all these platforms, from my understanding, like to have their content, because when you post it there, they own it, you
right.
know? And the more data and the more whatever you call it they absorb, I think that I will confirm that works, as if you're posting on LinkedIn, don't post a YouTube video link to send
Yeah.
someone to YouTube. They want to keep you on LinkedIn,
I mean, it makes sense to me, right? Like why they would want to do
Yeah.
that. So, um, Yeah,
Interesting.
that's something I've been focused on there. You know, what's your focus been on LinkedIn, or what kind of advice would you have for someone on how to use it
So
effectively? And
you're
down to
doing
the
a much
tactical
better
level.
job than I am.
Yeah.
On the tactical level, I left Agent 2021 wanting to post on LinkedIn, whether it was copy or a video or whatnot on a weekly basis. Because like you said, it lives longer. So I don't think you need to post as often necessarily like you do on these other platforms. And I haven't stuck to it like I wanted to. Sometimes, I get uncomfortable and I go, what do I share with people, or what do I post about, or how can I make sure I'm providing value? And I have to constantly remind myself, well, hey, just talk about what happened in your day on your LinkedIn of,
Right.
I got up and I had a recruiting meeting at 9 a.m. That went really well. Some things I learned from that was blah, 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 blah. And then next I did a podcast interview, or, just sharing what you did in your daily. I think people connect with on a higher level. You don't always have to try and create this great story for people to listen to, because even if it's something as simple as, oh, I went to Starbucks, and this from the event, oh, I tripped and fell today, it's something will relate with somebody, as long as you have the courage and the passion to share your story with others without, there's certain things in your personal life that you don't want to share, some things you do, but for the majority of people, if you're a good person and you're doing the right.
Oh, you
So
you clipped out for a second there. I think you said if you're a good person, you're doing the right thing.
yeah, if you're a good person and doing the right thing, why are you afraid to share what you're doing? I think that the people that get really uncomfortable aren't mentally feeling like they're doing the right thing.
Right.
It's kind of one of those interesting, it's like a pendulum. It's, you just kind of, it's like a push and pull, give and take. Um, One of those things of producing content. So
Yeah, and
I
I
want to,
think
you help me with that. You're challenging me to do more, because, even though, I look at us as competitors, we are both trying to grow this massive real estate brand. And with the internet, everybody's connected now, it's, and there's a part of it that it's like, we're friends, but we're competitors at the same time, and how can I help you? How can you help me? Because there's plenty to have out there, and it's fun. And that's the thing that I love about real estate is, you're in competition, but at the same time, you know, you have to do deals with those people. So you have to be somewhat cordial, understanding, and in ways you got to play fair, because word gets around quick.
yeah, you got to play fair. You got to play nice. We are competitors, but there's enough business out there for everyone. Like
Exactly.
I couldn't I couldn't put my competitors out of business if I wanted to, right? Like there's enough, there's more than enough market share. Like in my market, my county, we're the number one real estate team. We have 4% of the total market. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
How long have you guys been in business? I'm just curious.
in our current form, about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
7 years, yeah.
7 years. And are you guys you're your own brokerage, correct?
Yeah, we started off, my wife and I each were at different brokerages. We met at another one, and then we sort of outgrew it, got too big, and had to start our own.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, we're only at 4%, and we're like 4x the next guy in terms of residential volume in our county. So there's even if we quintupled in size, there's still 80% of the markets out there for people to get. So there's
Business to be
yeah,
had. Yeah. And that's the fun thing about real estate too. It's like there's, even at that rate, like there's like no matter how hard you work in your life, you're not going to capture more than 80% market share. Like I don't like saying the word it's impossible, because you could do it, but it's going to take a lot.
right. I mean, you might be able, maybe in a smaller town you could do that, but we've got 3,000 transactions, so that's, when you count both sides, that's 6,000, right? They're each worth $500,000 or whatever, so that's how many billions of dollars, right? Like nobody could come in and in the current form. Now there could be some new technology or
Yeah.
something could shift it, right? But there's
Hmm.
right now there's enough business for everyone. So I think it helps when competitors are also collaborating, I think.
Yeah. So I got a question for you on that. So with me, so I started a residential team probably about 6 months ago, and I imagine that some of these listeners of this podcast are kind of in a similar position to myself. They want to start a real estate team. Where is the best place to start? I know that from us discussing over the last couple months, lead gen is a big thing, but at the same time, how do you supply those leads? Or is there any advice for maybe, I want to ask you this from my perspective of, where do you start with the team? Is it lead gen first, recruiting second, recruiting first, lead gen second, or what's kind of like a middle ground that you've seen?
Yeah, I think for most residential real estates, and there's no one size fits all answer. It's everyone is good at different things, likes different things. Markets are different, so you have to apply kind of bigger principles to you have to apply bigger principles to your situation. But I think it starts with lead gen, right? You've got to get an
Yeah.
overflow of business. You've obviously got the commercial side, so you're in a different boat than a lot of people. But someone starting out just focused on residential needs to go out, get enough deals for themselves. Then they have to get enough deals that they can start shedding off admin duties. So your first hire should not be another buyer's agent. Too many, I see a lot of people who break through, get past six figures, right? Because that's a tough mark to beat statistically
Yep.
in real estate. I think in practicality, it's not a hard mark to break. Only 10% get there. Only about 1 or 2% get to 200K or up in income. But what I see often happen when people get in that range, they don't go out and get admin support, right? They're afraid for some reason to go out and hire that $30,000 to $40,000 a year worker when they're making 4 times that. And
Yeah.
if they do start to build a team, they go out and they get a buyer's agent. So now they've got 2 people to feed. They don't have anyone to take care of the non-sales activities. So they end up, all right, if you go out and you hire a buyer's agent, guess what? Now you're going to do the admin work for you and for them.
And the buyer's agent.
Right.
Yeah.
So so now you're really devaluing your times instead of going the other way with it. So you need to get enough leads for yourself. Then you need to hire an admin, maybe even a second one, and then you start recruiting, right?
I like that. That's really helpful because we've taken an approach of let's recruit agents, and it's me and my business partner that have kind of done this. I've got plenty of business for myself. He's got plenty of business, but he doesn't have enough to shed to those other agents to make them productive. Because, when you first get into real estate, it's somewhat difficult in ways to just get the snowball rolling. But once you get that thing rolling and you start to figure it out and you figure out how to work with certain types of people, I think that it just kind of snowballs from there. But it's that first little bit that is hard for new agents. If you're not having to shed some of those leads or whatnot for yourself to these newer agents, it's hard to have them be productive in their first 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and the best way to do that is to narrow your focus. And that's what I talked about a lot in my book. Because my first year I went from 0 to 22 million. I did it by, I didn't focus on all 250,000 people in Arlington or even all 20,000 people in the zip code. I focused on 200 homes that were, in one condo building and got 50% of that market share. Like on the micro level, you can get small enough that you can beat the bigger guys. Your effort can make an impact. Like if it's kind of like throwing a baseball at a window as opposed to like a handful of pebbles at the side of a commercial building. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to define your target and just hit it early and often. It's easier than ever now with social media, with the
I
targeting that's
agree with you.
available. Like you can, for like $1,000 a month, you could pick 1,000 people and just be in front of them constantly in their social, their social media feed. So, you start narrow, get the market share there, and then broaden, and that's when you start getting the other agents and expanding, and you got to get enough business for yourself and an admin first, though.
Yeah, that's really, really, really valuable. So I appreciate that. It's helpful.
Yeah. Now, how has so you started 6 months ago. How's that been so far? And are you seeing a kind of that's able to benefit from what you're doing in commercial and vice
Yeah,
versa?
so it's, and kind of part of that too is, when I first started kind of my company, KZB Real Estate and KZB Commercial, what I envision it to be is the Gary Vee saying of a media company first, a real estate company second. So where does that start? Okay, well, I need two media content creators for me. And how can we do that? So I started DMing people immediately when I got back from Agent 2021, the first year. And I found this guy. I got really lucky, video creator. He was kind of working a part-time job, and I was able to supply him well enough financially that it was almost like an admin, but at the same time an admin for my social game. And so I was like, you know what, let's go this route, because I don't know enough about the admin position that I need to hire to really find the value in hiring that person. So I brought on these two guys that just shoot content for me constantly. And we started our own little media marketing company because their services and our understanding of where social can go and what it can be is very valuable to other businesses as well. So we slowly started to build that up. And so kind of the backbone of the KZB real estate residential team has been all about content. You've got it readily available. You can start your own YouTube channel. You can shoot listings of a house. We've got drones and Matterport scans and kind of all these things that provide value to that agent, almost just like, a Keller Williams would do with, oh my gosh, here's all the education. Okay, that will take you so far. I think in today's world, if people know about you, most people are going to buy from you if they see your face online, if they see it through their social feed, like you're saying. I mean, it's so targeted now, it's scary. You can upload your contacts list to Facebook and just touch those people all day long with your content and value. So we've seen a lot of success. We've grown to 9 agents so far, and we've done it a little bit differently than what you would recommend, is leads first, recruiting second. We've recruited some great agents. Now we're struggling to pump them with enough leads. And I know it's a pretty easy fix with shooting some good content and getting someone or myself to spend the time to really understand Facebook ads and whatnot. And while I'm here, do you guys have someone that does all your copy and Facebook ads for you, or do you guys handwrite it, hand do all of the audiences built, and then fire it out there yourselves, or do you guys outsource that?
We keep it in-house. We've got a mix of staff. So we have a copywriter. We have someone who builds funnels, builds Facebook campaigns, then someone who kind of oversees it all. Right now, I generally write a lot of the copy that becomes ad copy, and then send it to the copy guy to review. Soon, I will probably reverse that process.
Yeah.
So that they can generate more. And, we're still not operating at the level I want. Like I want like new ads every week, just to, volume of ads. People see different things. They're more interested, more likely to engage. But we've found a couple like very generic, simple ads that work
Really well.
we can generate seller leads on Facebook for less than $30 a lead. On Zillow in my market, that lead would cost about $300. So
yeah.
So I'm happy with it, but I think it could actually get down to $15.
Yeah.
But it's just a real simple ad. It's a screenshot of the homes that sold last month on a map, and it's the message is find out what your home is worth, and it goes to the home eval tool, and it works.
Drops them down the funnel.
And that's not even a video. That's just a screenshot of a map.
Yeah. It's pretty funny how ads like that, when you test them and try them, what works and what doesn't work based on like the psychology of the other end, the sellers or the buyers, it wouldn't work on you because
Right.
too much, but
Yeah.
the general individual, it works really well. because they're all about, oh, so John and Suzanne's house down the road sold for X. Oh, we could probably get that for ours. Ours has a pool, like, oh my gosh, and people just eat that stuff up,
They do. And yeah, sometimes when you've been in the industry too long, it's hard to step back. Like, what does the outsider think? So I think getting that
Yeah,
back is extremely important. And I think the other message here too is, Gary says himself, Gary Vee says, if right now Facebook attention, social media attention is so underpriced, you don't even have to be good at it to win. You just
for
run
it
the
to
ads and
work.
it'll work. It won't be that way forever, he says, right? So eventually you
Yeah,
are going to have to get better at it, but the way you get better at it is by doing it more. So just go out there and make ads, have it go somewhere and keep trying. And luckily you don't have to be great at it right now, but that will change.
yeah, exactly.
Well, great. This has been awesome. I want to end with our hyper fast round, so I'm just going to fire a few questions at you, see how many you can get through, and then we'll wrap up. So,
Sweet.
are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. What's the biggest piece of advice you would give to somebody just starting out in the real estate field?
I would say try everything, whether it's writing ads on Facebook, posting to your story every day, starting a vlog channel. I would say try everything, figure out what works, and kind of push that direction. I really try to recommend stay somewhere for 3 to 6 months, or change it up after that. So really sink your teeth in. It's hard to get that instant gratification in real estate. Give it some time, keep pushing, and yeah, get outside your comfort zone to try new things.
All right. Biggest piece of advice for someone who's been in the industry for a while, for an established veteran?
Get on Instagram.
It's a good one. Biggest mistake you ever made?
Ooh, biggest mistake I've ever made. I would have to say, starting out in the commercial world, and not having a mentor tied directly to me. I made a few mistakes, nothing traumatizing, but just the order of operations in a commercial deal. I made a mistake where we almost signed a lease. It could have been a lot worse. We almost signed a lease before we got construction costs back for a build out for a large daycare user. And the deal ended up blowing up because construction costs came back double. So what I learned through that is the order of operations, to maximize your time. If you're going to engage with an LOI, start to get the ball rolling. Okay, then you spend time getting your construction stuff done, and then you move to the next step of, okay, what does the final lease look like, rather than me spending 9 months LOI negotiating, get to a lease, construction costs are still waiting 2 weeks. And I'm glad that I held my tenant off to sign that lease until we got the final numbers, because they would have been caught in a pickle. But I learned a lot from that, and it's a mistake that I constantly refer back to. It was my biggest deal in my career in the first 2 years, and it fell through because of order of operations. So,
All right. Biggest piece of real estate investment advice?
ooh, investment advice. Save some cash. I'm going to jump off Grant Cardone. Don't make a real estate investment until you've got 100K in the bank.
All right.
Cold hard cash.
All right. Last one. If we weren't finding you out selling real estate or making your latest and greatest video, where would we find you? What would you be doing?
That is a really good question. I'm going to answer it two ways. One, I had an obsession with art and pottery in high school. It was one thing that woke me up in the morning. So you never know. I might be out making pots for you someday, flower pots, all sorts of fun stuff out of pottery. And then the second thing, I was a huge athlete growing up, so I have a huge passion for sports. I don't have any regrets in life, but if I had the opportunity to play a professional sport, whether it's baseball, hockey, or basketball, that would be a passion of mine, because I love the physical drive of, pushing your body to the limit. And you can attest to this of, you unlock something in your mind when you're able to physically push yourself past something, not, mentally push yourself past something when writing a contract or whatnot in real estate. There's something about that physical depletion of the body that really gets me going. So
Yeah.
probably be doing that.
All right.
Love it.
Well, thanks a lot. This has been a great show. I'm excited for everything that you've put out there. Excited to watch what you continue to do. If people want to get in touch with you, commercial real estate, residential real estate, social media advice, how should people reach out to you?
So I will send you a link to my website. And the best way to get a hold of me is a direct message on Instagram. I check those every day. If someone writes me a valuable message, I will respond. If you're just going to send me thumbs up and hearts and stuff, I'm not going to respond, but I do check those all day, every day. So that's usually the best way to get a hold of me. I make an effort to kind of get back to everybody that's ever DM'd me, because text messages and phone calls get all bogged up sometimes. So
Okay. What's your Instagram handle for those who are listening only?
my Instagram handle is at Blake, BLAKE _ Hags, HAGZCRE. So Blake _ Hags CRE.
All right. You guys heard it. That's how you reach out to him. Send him a DM. Make sure it's valuable, and he'll get back to you eventually. Thanks a lot for being on the show, Blake. Thanks a lot for everyone out there listening or watching. If you like the show, or if you didn't, please leave us a review. Give us some feedback. It helps us make the show better, helps us get better guests, and share it with someone that you think would benefit from seeing it as well. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Dan, thank you so much.